Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to a daily Brighton podcast. It's your boy, Jamie G, joined by the big man, Jay Rich. Joe, how are we?
Yeah, no, I'm good, thank you. Got attacked by a book yesterday at work, so just trying to recover at the moment.
It's a real hard time. Les can also feel it because he's also been attacked by some year 11s maybe, or had to break up a fight. Bless, have you had any debacle like that?
No, I wasn't involved, so no, I'm all good. Still alive.
Well, that's good. Well, we're back with another Wildcard Wednesday. We are doing our favourite thing. We're talking about transfers. We've done it basically the whole of January. We've been talking about players we want to see go, players we think should be brought in, and they have addressed two positions that we did say. So we're on the right lines. They've addressed the centre-back, they've addressed the striker, which we did give our suggestions. They didn't go with any of our suggestions, so maybe that's on them being poor and, not listening to the Daily Brighton podcast like the fools they are. But we are going to be talking about Erran Cashin, I hope I've pronounced his name right, and the new man in Zimas, but he's been loaned back out to Nuremberg. And then we're also going to be talking about the Metoma saga, because we know the listeners want to have our take on the Metoma saga. So we're going to begin with one striker out, another one in, but then back out. It's Evan Ferguson being loaned to West Ham, but also the introduction of Zimas, a Greek 6-foot international from Nuremberg in the Bundesliga 2. Joe, you said you've watched him before. What did you make of him?
He's class, to be fair, but obviously the whole thing about a player like that is that he's playing at a level that is, like, people say that the Bundesliga isn't anywhere near the level of the Premier League, and he's playing in the second division. So I imagine the second division of Germany to be closer to League One than I do the Championship, maybe. I don't think it correlates the same as it does in England. But in terms of ability, there's literally a gem in there. Hence the quite high fee for someone who's in that league. Fast, relatively quite tall, great link-up play, which is, considering Welbeck's age and his link-up play, it sort of what makes sense, because he can then obviously come in and sort of do that as well. Pretty deadly in front of goal. And also, he's super young as well. So I think he's 18, isn't he, or 19? So
just turned 19.
So he's a class player. He picks up really good positions. He can drop it. He can actually play. He can pick up the ball quite deep and dribble at players, which, to be fair, Danny Welbeck can't really do. I'd say now, I don't know if I've ever really seen Danny Welbeck chopping up players and twisting up players, even when he was at United, really. But it is a good signing. But the decision to loan him out, they just might not think that he's ready at the moment. Also, it's a bit mad to disrupt a player's a really good season that a player's having, to then bring him to the Premier League where we're in a rut and we just lost 7-0, to play at the highest level you can basically play at. I think it would be a bit peak.
Bless. He's not quite Patson Daka, and Joe there has been basically cussing out Danny Welbeck, so not a great start on this.
Whoa. There's no cussing out.
Okay, you didn't cuss him out, but you pointed out some weaknesses. Bless Bless looked at you like he gave you daggers. He wasn't happy through his screen. For those listening at home, he was shooting some stares. But yeah, Bless, what do you think of him, and are you disappointed to see him loaned back out? Do you think he would have been a perfect player to kind of bring in when we are kind of struggling to go up top?
Yeah, I was a bit surprised that he's going back on loan, especially obviously with Evan Ferguson going out. I'm sure we'll talk about him as well. But yeah, a bit surprised he's going back on loan. I do sort of understand where Joe's coming from. He probably isn't ready and would spend a lot of time on the bench. So to disrupt his season isn't going to benefit his development in the long run. But yeah, from what I've seen with him, he does look quite impressive. What I really like about him is that he seems like just an instinctive, natural number 9, as well as all the other nice stuff of like good dribbling. I saw a few low crosses and him getting in front of the defender to poke it in. But then also there's bits of him sort of dribbling and showing off those skills as well. So he looks like a good player, and you just hope and have your fingers crossed that the Tony Bloom's wonder machine of producing these kids is still working, because I can't really remember the last one that sort of popped off, to be honest. I mean, Caicedo and Baliba, but from there it's been tricky.
Yeah, Minter's not had a great start, to be fair as well. And I guess Baliba was, but then that took a season for him to actually become any good, really.
Minte doesn't count because he literally played for Newcastle. So the scouting had already been done.
Yeah. But like you say, I think this, on your point of this guy being a bit of a wonder kid and hoping he's the next one that Tony Bloom has found, in like the needle in the haystack or the golden manure, whatever you want to call it. As if
do you know what manure is?
yeah. Cow pat. You find gold in it, That's what Tony Bloom does anyway. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, I think he has. From turning on the highlights package, because obviously I don't watch Nuremberg. I'm not going to pretend like I do, but watching about 10 minutes of him on highlights packages, he looks so good. Like, he drops deep. He's picking up the ball. He's running at defenders, like taking it past them. He's so many times I saw him like knock it one side of him, and then they'd just run. He'd run around the other side. He also did so many things like a back heel finish. He did like a little messy chip. If you when they go 1-on-1 v the keeper goes low. He just chipped him.
We know what the messy chip looks like, mate.
Oh, it's like the whole. I'm not like to be 18 at that point and have like the awareness to do that, and just kind of shows like natural instincts as a finisher, like you said earlier, Bless. But yeah, I've seen him with his first touch like pirouette someone. He is making and probably going to continue to make that league look pretty easy for him. 19 now, but yeah, I turned it on thinking he was going to be a target man. Boy, was I shocked. He looked phenomenal. But obviously that does mean Evan Ferguson is out the door as well. And we should probably touch on him. He's gone to West Ham on loan. Do you feel this is make or break for him, Bless?
Yeah, definitely think that it's an important part of his career now, because I fear that if he doesn't kick on, this new lad who's come in is definitely there to take his place. And then what happens to Evan Ferguson after that? I do recall you guys recording the podcast without me, and it was we need to talk about Evan Ferguson. I feel for the worst for him now, because we need to talk about him again, but this time it's not looking good.
So weren't we literally talking about whether he should go out on loan?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I said, I think this is the best. I think I said in the past that I think this is the best option for him, because he's rotting on the bench. He's not getting any minutes, not really getting a look in. Can't get in the squad over an older Danny Welbeck, although he has had injuries, to be fair. But then he's always injured anyway. So I think West Ham, also in need of a striker, this could be a good move for him. He's also going to be working with Kudus behind him and Jared Bowen. I think this is kind of a perfect spot for him to be. Working back with Graham Potter, who was the guy that brought him through the academy, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I think this is a good sign. Joe, what do you think?
I'll be honest, I actually think it's quite lucky. Because like, if you actually look at like sort of the wider context of West Ham season, I don't think that if they don't sack their manager, I don't think he comes in. If Antonio unfortunately doesn't go through what he went through, he probably doesn't come in. Also, if Folkwell wasn't ass, he also probably isn't coming in. Do you know what I mean? So, but then Potter's gone there, and then obviously of what unfortunately happened to Antonio happened, and Falkirk is indeed ass. So I feel like everything has sort of worked in the favour of that like loan move happening. Um, but I did see like very contrasting reports. So we made that podcast like about we need to talk about Evan Ferguson. We made that podcast off the back of hearing that he was going to be loaned out. Like a week or two later, I saw reports saying that he's not being loaned out anymore. So I feel like it was a very opportunistic sort of like thing. And bless his right, he needs to kick on because he was in a really awkward situation where so he'd just come back from injury, so he had that sort of working in his favour in terms of there's still like a player in there. In my opinion, he should be sort of well past those injuries now, like especially like maybe like the big ones that have sort of kept him out for so long. But the performances haven't really been coming through at all. So when we put that podcast out, they were talking about like Celtic and Rangers. He can't go to Celtic and Rangers. Like he just can't. Like you can't because you're going to go there and he probably will bag a ton of goals, but then he's going to come back and be like, well, I don't even know if he would at this the way that he is at the moment. But you're going to come back and then you'll be realizing that you're not playing against these man like every week. So I do think that it needed to be a higher end championship team. So Sunderland just picked up a player from Liverpool, Jaden Dans, on loan. They already have Isidore, and are they top or are they like second or third? They're in the top. Yeah, they're in the top three, aren't they? Yeah, top 3 or 4. So like he needed to go to a team like that, I think, rather than go into like a Premier League side because he's not going to play at Ipswich because Liam Delap's better than him, like currently, as he just is. Do you know what I mean? Like he could have went to Southampton, but he just would have had a torrid time. Do you know what I mean? Because Southampton, I know they won last week, but Southampton ass. So like it was really like a if something came up, then I feel like they were like, okay, let's pull the trigger on it, sort of thing. But he needs to play regularly and he needs to start turning his form around. Otherwise, he is just going to end up in like either on a string of loans or he's going to go to like Saudi or something. Do you know what I mean? So
Saudi.
Jamie, I've got a question for you. I don't know. This one feels a bit of a weird one. I think that there's probably more to the story than what we know. Do you think like there's anything behind the scenes, like maybe they fell out? Because it just seems like a weird one. Because if you go back, maybe when right before Evan Ferguson's injuries, he was probably seen as like one of the biggest gems at Brighton, like well kept. He was like, we're not selling him. Remember when there was talks of 100 mil?
Yeah.
And it's been what, maybe 24 months, but how have we got here? Surely there's something behind the scenes.
Well, I don't think there is. I think it's genuinely like performances on the pitch have been, when he has got the chance to play, have been so below par. He hasn't impressed me at all. Like anytime he's played, I think he's had that one snapshot, which was a very good finish, and that's basically all I can really think of him doing and contributing towards our season so far. And then I think the other thing is the injuries have played a massive factor in his price going down and down and down. So I think they started if you're talking about like the office or like the Tony Bloom and whoever's running the club and making these decisions, I think they're starting to have the realization that he might never become the wonder kid that we all think he is. But I'm actually in disagreement with Joe in thinking I think the Premier League was the right move just because he needs to. It's a good move for Brighton to find out, is this kid like Premier League level? And then, because, yeah, like you say, if he went to Scotland and scored like 20, it'd be like, right.
I did say that he was supposed to go to the Premier League, but there was just nothing on, basically.
Yeah. But I was thinking, like, he needs to. I think if he goes, well, he's at West Ham now. I think now that he's there, I think he needs that move to kind of build his confidence up, and then just bag some goals, really, and then Brighton can see, is he everything we kind of thought he was going to be all those years ago? That's kind of what I think. But
I hear it, to be fair.
Tell us what you guys think in the comments. Are you sad to see Evan Ferguson go? Do you think he'll thrive at West Ham? And then also, let us know what you think of Zimas after you've watched the highlights packages we all have. This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day. And we are back with a daily Brighton podcast. Now it's time to talk about a position that we have said we desperately needed. And we spoke about him on the podcast yesterday, and it is the centre-back position. We have bought Erran Cashin from Derby, who currently sit 23rd in the Championship, like Bless alluded to yesterday. But I would say they have a average defence in the Championship. There are teams sat in 8th, like Norwich, that have a worse defence than Derby. And like I said yesterday, he's never underperformed a 7.2 rating. So that's not too bad, guys. What do you think? Now that you have watched some highlights, although there are minimal online, what do you think of the transfer?
God bless, I'll let you go, mate.
Yeah, I feel, Jamie, you really want to be excited about something, don't you?
Yeah.
No, but basically, from what I've seen, again, the package of highlights are not great. But from what I've seen, he's got a really good range of passing with his left foot. He's actually quite mobile as well, which probably suits our high line. He is a threat in the box, which I was a bit worried about. Obviously, with his height is slightly shorter than your average centre half, but he's quite stocky as well. So I don't know. He looks okay. Again, my only concerns are where he's coming from. So it's just the case of, does the machine still work? Is he just gonna, is he gonna outperform what he's already been doing and step up to it? And how ready is he? Because Derby to the Premier League is a big jump. If you look at our next game, he's going to be up against Nicholas Jackson. If he's to start, is he going to be able to deal with that? Because again, Jackson's probably not the best striker in the Premier League, but if he's running ragged around you, then it's not a good start, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And you're saying I want to get excited about something. One thing I will say, because there were minimal highlights on Cashin, I did float around the Derby Twitter sphere and on a couple of their TikToks. They absolutely love him. And they are like gutted to see him go.
They've got to love something, mate, honestly.
Yeah, to be fair, their team's probably very bleak, sat in 23rd. So they've got to have one good player. But they were like making videos with like heart emojis saying how much they loved him and it was a goodbye. But one guy wrote, "I hope this isn't goodbye forever." And that tells me everything. They love him, so he must be decent.
I'm sorry, but if he ever goes back to Derby, then he's terrible.
True. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I guess.
Is it an upgrade over Dunk? Surely.
Well, I don't know because I've not watched. I imagine so, but I've not really. Here's just for context. I know a lot of the people listening to this have already tried to find. I don't know where you found it, mate. If you have, send a link. But I don't know where you find these highlights. But I watched the only highlights I found were 2 minutes long, and it was literally goal from a set piece, left foot diag, goal from a set piece, slide tackle, diag, slide tackle. That's basically all it was. And you can't really gauge much about what the player's like when those are sort of only things you see. I'll be honest, it's always good to have a threat in the box from set pieces, but it's not really. I'm much more concerned about how he defends set pieces than get it. You can't all just be Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? So, it obviously my biggest issue isn't even that he's come from Derby, because I mean, you can sort of come from anywhere and be all right. Do you know what I mean? Like, or you could be really good, come from anywhere. It doesn't matter. If you're good enough, you're good enough. But my biggest issue is the fact that I feel like he's like the fourth or fifth option of players that I've seen us like linked with, sort of over from last summer all the way through till now. I feel like he's like the fourth option. So like, what does that sort of say about that? And like, I want to be positive. I imagine he's actually going to probably come in almost as soon as, I reckon he'll start if he's fit properly, because he's obviously going to be match fit because he's been playing it like every twice a week basically. But it's more, is he going to be given the chance in the FA Cup and then basically see where he's at and then dunk again in the Prem and then sort of be like, okay, let's bring him on, sort of vibe. And you can only wait and see. I know that's such a boring answer, which I don't normally give, but like, you can only wait and see. I don't know enough about him to sort of, with Tzimas, I know a bit more about him, so I can sort of give a bit more. But with him, it's just like, the only thing I've heard is that our boss literally said he's decent. And he supports Derby.
I was going to allude to that. I think
we should have brought him on.
Yeah, 100%. But like, our boss said he's decent, but our boss also supports Derby, so you'll have to question. You have to question it already. So, you know what I mean?
I think also pre-game, I think Hertzler said, I don't think Hertzler knows much about him. He said he met him on like last Friday. And then he said he knew it was someone that Tony Bloom and the scouting department were looking at for like a couple of years. So that's at least some. So they were looking at him potentially when he was in League One last season. Didn't pull the trigger, and then I guess kind of kept tabs on him. But one thing you did say there is that he did a slide tackle. That's the one thing I noted, and that kind of. Like all of his highlights packages are basically slide tackles. I watched a video with him as well, also saying he loves a slide tackle. That kind of fills me with a bit of fear, though, because the players in the Premier League are way more techie, are way quicker, and probably stronger. That they could either ride a slide tackle that he has and then be through on goal. If he goes down too early, then it kind of shows like a lack of pace or athleticism. I also think you could, if you go into it deeper, that's
a little bit, yeah.
Like, especially when you consider his size, like I felt like he used a slide tackle to try and recover from being in a bad position or like getting done somewhat, and it worked in the League One and Championship. But will that work in the Prem? I'm not too sure. The other guy, McConville, your guy, has gone out on loan to Norwich as well. That'll be good.
Oh, did he? I didn't even know that.
No, he's gone on the permanent.
Permanent?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a loan.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a scolding of how wrong I was.
To be honest,
oh my God.
To be honest, I spoke with the scout that we had on, so with our friend Jamie, and he said that he's just not moved by him at all. Like, even for that level, do you know what I mean? So, like, I mean, I don't know too much about him, but like, it's all good and well. Like, you hear so much about young players training with like the first team, and like, I know he's been on the bench a couple of times, but the benches in the Premier League are fat. So like, and we also have no players in that position. So.
Yeah, I mean, I did point it out as in, like, if we are struggling that much, give him a go, kind of thing.
I reckon you've spun a wheel on academy defenders.
But to be fair, it's not a bad fee. I think it's $1 million, and it could rise up to 2.5. So he could be more expensive than Tariq Lamptey. So you know what I mean? It's calm.
Is Tariq Lamptey gone, or is he staying?
He's staying, I think.
Still there, yeah. We'll touch on that in this next segment after this quick ad break.
Well, we're talking about Tariq Lamptey.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
And we are back with a Daily Brighton podcast. But before we talk about the Daily Brighton's favourite player of Tariq Lamptey, we've got to address the elephant in the room, and that is the Metoma saga. Everyone wants our thoughts. I've been going all over on social media, and they all want to know what we think of the €90 million bid that got rejected by Brighton for Mitoma. And I guess we'll kick off with you, Joe, because you wrote in our chat first. What do you make of it?
Sorry, I had my camera off because I'm refusing to go on camera if we talk about Tariq Lamptey. So when we do speak about him, I will be going off camera until the segment is over. Basically, with that whole thing, I can't remember where we were, or if we were like just before we were about to film, or if we were out together and we spoke about it a little bit. I think it might have been on Friday night. Did we speak about it then?
Or last Wednesday after football, maybe.
Oh, last Wednesday after football, I think we all spoke about sort of like what our opinions are on it. And I just, loads of, it's really divisive. Like, it split fans' opinions so much. I just think you have to take that, mate. Like, I know loads of people say, oh, he's so important. But, like, okay, he's important, but he's also 28. He's not playing well. And I know it's the only thing I'll give you is that it's the end of the window, but there are many better wingers out there that you could get, especially with that sort of like around that fee, even at, like at a younger age. We're acting as if Metoma is the best winger in the league. He's not, is he? Let's be honest. Like he's not the best left winger. Sorry, like he's not the best left winger in the league. And left wing is actually. Is a lot weaker than like the right side, for example. I think there's players out there that are better. I think there's players out there that could be better sooner than like what Metoma must have been good at like 26.
And the thing is, we've got a Dingra on the bench. He probably read the news and was thinking, this is my chance. They're surely going to accept this. Yeah. And they didn't. No. Bless. What are your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I'm with Joe on this one. You've got to take that P. That's a lot of dough. The thing is with Metoma, he's so frustrating because he is the one in the team we sort of rely on. We have relied on in the past to provide that spark, that special moment, and start the season. It has been João Pedro quite a few times, but we've not really seen it from Metoma. And the amount of times I've said in this podcast, we need Metoma to kick on now. We need him to kick on now.
Yeah,
he just hasn't been as good as he had been in that one season. Like 90 mil, take that, stick a dinger in there until the end of the season, and then plan to buy another left winger. That would have made sense to me. I don't really understand it, to be honest. I don't know if they see Matoma's fortunes turning around, but it's been, we're halfway through the season that we haven't had a lot to shout about from Metoma, so bit of a weird one for me.
Have you got Metoma stats, Gara?
Yeah, it's he's got 5 goals, 3 assists in 21 starts.
Yeah, 3 assists, that's stinking.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also, I think we all agree he's not been as good as he was last season, and especially the season before that. One thing that just shocked me is, like, we don't turn down these offers. Like, I just was shocked that we turned it down at 60 million euros or whatever they offered. And then
you'd have missed out on the extra 30 then.
No, I would. If I didn't know about the extra 30 that's coming, I would have took that
one. But I was like, okay, they rejected that one. I was thinking, that's when I was like, oh, it's like towards the end of the transfer window, maybe that's their reasoning. They don't want to sell him. Then they came back with 30 mil, just a massive overpay, in my opinion, for a 27-year-old. And this is coming from a Metoma fan. I am a bit of a fanboy for him, have been for a while. So if I'm saying it, take the money, then they should have taken the money. I just cannot believe that Tony Bloom, who loves money and then reinvesting it into more youth players, and like children from Paraguay or whoever it might be. Young adults from Paraguay.
I said young adults.
The fact you were in and said something else, you just made it worse. Anyway.
But yeah, I was shocked that they just didn't accept the deal at all. I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I knew you two weren't gonna be on the side of like keeping him. The only thing I can think of like why we kept him, and this is gonna seem so like franchisey, like American football-y and like American sportsy.
Don't say about the Asian market, please.
Don't say
I'm gonna say about
sponsor.
the Asian market. Like he attracts such a fan base from Japan. If you go over to Japan, they apparently say Brighton is their favourite team.
You've never been to
because of
Japan.
Mitoma. And think about the money that he generates from shirt sales every season. I don't have the figure on me, and this is pure speculation.
No, I was going to say,
but I can imagine
it's convenient, isn't it?
I can imagine it's a fair chunk.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
imagine so. I imagine so. Yeah.
So, like every season, would it be worth like in that 3-year deal that he's not at our club? Would that be £90 million worth of like shirt sales and like Asian sponsors? Like Brighton team going over there.
He's not bringing in 90 mils worth of.
Yeah, he's not plugging the team to go over to Japan.
No, he's not Cristiano Ronaldo, mate. He's not Lionel Messi.
Yes, they went there pre-season.
We went there pre-season. We sold out every single game. So
you're saying that's the Metoma effect?
That's the Metoma, of course. Do you think if Metoma wasn't there, we would sell out the game?
You're making it out like he's a Japanese Michael Jackson, mate.
Trust me. Honestly,
it's not the Beatles, mate. It's
like Usain Bolt
Lewis
going over
Metoma.
It's like
I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but like, mate, the only thing I could see is that. I don't know if the Saudi teams do it this way. I imagine they do because obviously anyone can do it that way. But like they must have offered it in like mad installments or something. Yeah. Because I've heard bare rumours that these men are not paying up the fees that they're saying they're paying up. It's like all cap basically, and especially like their wages and that. It might just be Jordan Henderson, but it just loads of people seem to go out there and seem to enjoy it. But like, I say enjoy it. Like Ronaldo loves it. Ronaldo loves the Saudi league, mate.
He's the biggest advocate, to be fair.
Yeah, but like, they must have said like, okay, get like we'll give you 10 mil now, and then we'll just give you 10 mil over and over again for 9 years. So that's the only sort of way that I could feel like you'd reject it. But like, if they're slapping 90 big ones on the table, mate,
large ones,
lad, I'm leaning over the top. I'm taking it all, man. I don't even know. I honestly don't even know who you'd buy instead, but you could buy a couple man, mate. 4 or 5 man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's yeah. Genuinely, I am shocked. I hope it. And the only other thing is like, I don't think this would be in the thinking, but like, and this is what the commentators were saying when we played Forest. Is like. Is it because they thought they think we're in the hunt for like one of the Europa League places, maybe even Champions League because it's so tight out there? I'm thinking there's no chance we're getting Champions League. Europa League is a stretch. Like Conference League we're still in contention for. I'll give us that. But we could probably do that without Metoma, really.
Do we get do you know this whole thing of us getting the 5th Champions League position?
Yeah.
Do we get a 5th Champions League position, an extra conference, and an extra Europa League, or just the Champions League?
Just Champions League.
But it moves everything down one.
Yeah, it moves everything down. Yeah.
So would that be 9th?
8th place.
8th.
No.
Okay.
8th would be. Yeah.
We get 8th, but we'd have to be unreal for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
How many points are we off 8th? Does anyone know? Can we get a look? This is literally, we're just going so rogue right now, but I need to know because
we are 3 points off Aston Villa, so we're not out of it, but our form is
we're not out of it at all, really. But the form is awful.
We're very much in the race, but our form is awful.
How many teams below us are also in that same race?
If you count, Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace
Crystal Palace have They're in 12th and they have 30. They're only 4
They're in
points
good
behind
form,
us.
to be fair.
Yeah, they are in good form, but that's peak, mate.
Man United are
We
5
have to
points behind
cancel
us.
the pod if they get Conference League.
Oh no, that would be tough.
We literally can never come on the internet ever again. Some of the things I said about them, man, is peak, mate.
Mateta as well, I was banging him in. The things
Yeah.
you said about him.
Nah, you were cussing out Mateta the other day when we weren't on air, mate. You were cussing him out. That's so funny. But yeah, he actually is banging hard, to be fair.
Could do it.
Well, let's not big them up too much. Come on.
He is a donkey, 100%. He's a good
for the sake of our mental sanity.
Yeah. All right. Can we end the pod now, mate?
Yeah, I think that's our take on Mitoma anyway. We won't touch on Tariq Lamptey not being sold.
Yeah, bun Tariq Lamptey, mate.
And on that note, lovely speaking to you both, as always. It's been Jamie G hosting the pod. Follow us on all our socials. Keep tuning in, week out, or day in, day out, actually. And that's been Blessed Chabamba. That's been Joe Richardson. See you next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.